Siebel keywords class. I want to give you an overview of each and every keyword that you might come across in your projects. It is still not exhaustive list. Again, it is just high level keywords. Every keyword has many more sub keywords, obviously. We'll not get into those details. Even beside these keywords, there could be a lot of keywords related to just your project. But these are definitely general SQL keywords that you're supposed to know. I've made a list of all the keywords that you're supposed to know, and we'll go over these one by one. We'll understand these things at a high level. I don't want you to feel that you have never even heard this thing. Let's say there is a guy who has worked in SQL for 5 years. I'm 100% sure he must have heard of these keywords at some point of time in his, like in his career, and there is no way he can say he hasn't heard this. So I don't want any of my consultants to say that. Okay. This is the whole purpose of going over these keywords. But idea is not to go into depth. Idea is to understand these keywords just as they are, as much as possible, so that when someone says this thing, will they hit you in your project? If they're gonna hit you in your project, then I would know in advance that this is the project, right? This is your project. Then I will obviously would have taught or will teach you in detail those keywords. But if they are not gonna hurt you and hit you, idea is that you should at least be able to say that I'm familiar with it, or feel that you're familiar with it when someone is talking about it. It will never hit you if we don't anticipate. These are typically separate projects. E-pricer, e-configurator, working on smart script. These are separate projects within a company. Many of these are first logic integration, Haley rules. These are all separate projects. In fact, they will give the requirement like we need Siebel and first logic expert. We need Siebel assignment manager expert. We need Siebel TBUI expert. We need Siebel iHelp expert. They will not say like Siebel BA with iHelp knowledge, Siebel BA with engines knowledge, Siebel BA with preventive maintenance engine knowledge, Siebel BA with EIM knowledge. That's what one of our friends is. Workflow. This is the most important keyword. What is Siebel workflow? They say there is a full-fledged video on this. At least regarding workflow, you should watch it. Workflow and assignment manager, state model. These three concepts are not just like general. Remember I told you business logic here, business components in detail. These are three things that you should know in detail. They are not separate parts. They are part of pretty much every project, and they will hit you every day. So I want you guys to understand that a little bit more. But still here the purpose is given overview. There is an already existing video, so you can watch that. First, let's understand what is escript. Escript is Siebel scripting language. Okay. Remember we talked about configuration, customization. Customization is done using escript. In Siebel tools, if some functionality can be provided by check marks and all that stuff, remember we saw that required field, all the check marks and all, then that is just basic configuration. But sometimes a functionality needs to be provided by scripting language. Siebel scripting language is called escript. It is similar to JavaScript. Developers tell me, I don't know all this, but basically the name is escript. Escript is nothing. So if you ask me what is escript, I would say Siebel's proprietary programming language, which Siebel developers use in Siebel tools to change the behavior of the application. In Siebel tools, it's not used anywhere outside. It's just within tools they use it. If Siebel is interacting with another system, that system will use their own language. We will use Siebel script. That's a different story. It is needed only to customize, like whenever the configuration option is not available. Typically, use of escript makes the system unstable. It's not like when you add one line through. But we as a BA, as a Siebel BA, are champions of making sure escript is used the least. So if there is an out-of-the-box functionality, we as a BA make sure users shrug their requirement, which basically would mean that you have to use escript, and let them give you a requirement which basically means that out-of-the-box functionality can be used, or basic configuration can be used, or administration can be used, or personalization can be used. So this is our main focus in the meeting, that if they present a requirement, we tell them, especially those requirements should be rejected or cross argued or cross questioned or negotiated, which require e-scripting or workflow or AM, but e-scripting mainly. Okay.
Do you use the word coding for e-scripting?
Yes.
Coding.
We can tell them that, but see, when you're talking to Siebel guys, e-script is the right word to use. When you're talking to users, say coding. It requires coding, and tell them it makes the system unstable, and tell them it is not a good thing to have a script, and tell them why some of the out of the box functionalities can work for them. That is where you come into picture, right? As a Siebel BA, general BA does not know all this, is not supposed to know all this. Siebel BA is supposed to know this. He can gather requirements as well as tell them this functionality requires e-script and it's not a good idea to go for it. Your question might come, who will tell us script is needed or not? Don't worry, you will get ample time. Tech lead will tell you. If you are able to understand if you are able to do your job, understand the requirement and understand Siebel and present it properly to tech lead, at one point he might say, hey, this will require e-script. Just catch it. Now you know the reason. Or you can ask me. I can tell you to require e-script. Sometimes I may not just tell you yes or no answer. I might say, go to Siebel 8, go to the bookshelf, look in this area, look for out of the box options for this. If there is some, then it is there. I don't know all the verticals, all the horizontals, right? So I might ask you to go there and check. And then I will tell you which administration screen to go to and check, or which part in the bookshelf you should go to see which administration screen to go to. I don't even know all the administration screens. I might say, just go in the bookshelf and you might see it there. And then it becomes a 5-hour task for you to understand the entire out of the box functionality around that requirement. Okay? Okay? E-script covered completely in all its glory, the way it will be ever manifesting in front of you. But I want to show you once how it looks. I've just picked a random business component and I'm showing you how the scripts look like. This is a script. इसका मीनिंग क्या है, स्क्रिप्ट का मतलब क्या है, कैसे लिखते हैं? You have very remote relationship with that thing. You will never ever be writing scripts. Forget you. I'm doubtful that you'll be asked to open Siebel tools. That's how we started this, right? Writing the scripts or understanding the scripts remotely, but you should see it once. That's our idea. Sometimes it's written in technical design documents. You open one by mistake, you should know it is written like this: if not me dot parent biz comp is nothing, then me dot whatever is messaging. I've just picked a random business component. Okay. हाँ जी, अब बताओ
कोई वीडियो आप रिकॉर्ड भी कर रहा था?
What is business service? बिजनेस सर्विस का भी एक अलग वीडियो है. यू कैन सी इट बेसिकली एट ए हाई लेवल. आपने कभी बचपन में C++ प्रोग्रामिंग आपने तो की हुई है. फंक्शंस होते हैं बेसिकली चंक ऑफ कोड, देन इट इज clubbed into a function, right? Then the entire function can be called, right? So that is what business service is. We call it business service. It is still a chunk of code. Business service, it can be called. So basically what happens is, मैंने business service के वीडियो में बहुत अच्छी तरह बताया, but still यहाँ पे बड़े बड़े तौर पे कि script is basically the basic programming line, right? We can make a basic programming line that calculate the square root of some number. So we call it function. So anything can call that. Let's say you want to find the square root of 20. You say find the square root function 20. Then that function will get executed and it will return back the value of the result. So typically that's how programming works. If you haven't done programming, don't worry, they will do it. So business service, but you should have heard the word. It's called as business service in C++. Business service is nothing but chunks of code which basically can be called. What is workflow? Workflow is even one more level of conceptualization of encapsulation. क्या बोलेंगे इसको? Clubbing को. कोई technical word होता है ना अपना C++ वगैरह में. Modularization, modulating, modularizing, different level of modularity. So workflow means if you have one chunk of code, then you want some other chunk of code to be executed, then third chunk of codes to be executed. You basically say the developers implement it as a workflow. It looks like a workflow also. There is a box, arrow, box. That's how they code it in the workflow manager or business process manager. Interesting point is, it looks like a process flow, but it is not. It's basically three chunks of code saying that this should go first, this should go first, this should go first. What is a good example of workflow? What is a good example of a functionality that can be implemented using workflow by the developer? Okay, very good example is, let's say user submits an order. The functionality is user submits the order, and then first the system should check the availability of the product. If it is available, it should hold it. Then it should go and try to check the validity of the credit card. If it is valid, it should go ahead and then process the payment. If it is there, then it should come back and then actually hold the product for good. Not just hold it, rather order it and then make it go from the inventory. And then third is issue us request for the shipment of the product and give the shipping address and everything to the product, right? If possible, fourth is request the asset ID from the asset management system for that product, then bring it back and create an asset record and save the asset ID on it. This should happen in a sequence when the order is submitted in Siebel. There are 5 things. User is not going to do anything. System is going to do this thing, right? User involvement is not there. System is automatically going to do these 5 things. Perfect example of something. It's not a perfect example of workflow. Workflow has many meanings. My workflow video tells you very clearly, workflow has many meanings. Workflow is used in the day-to-day language. Business flows are also called as workflows. Business workflow is also workflow. I'm talking about Siebel workflow. So I should not say this is a good example of workflow. I should say this is a good example where the functionality can be implemented using Siebel workflow. This is how a business service looks like. See, this is the business service. I'm in the business service section. I highlight a business service and go to business service script. There are many things in tools. I just want to give you, this is the script. It is saying that this business service corresponds to these scripts. I'm not sure how this whole GUI is organized because I'm not a developer, right? We are not supposed to be developers, but I just want to show you that basically it is saying this business service consists of this code and this code and this code. I don't know how these 4 business scripts are connected. I think they are connected by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. But anyway, this is a business service which is just chunking of code together. What is workflow now? Interestingly, workflow is done in the GUI. In the GUI itself. See, you might think this is a process flow. This is not. There is a chunk of code behind this. There is a business service that it is calling. Chunk of code. I think these are input arguments, output arguments. I don't know how to write a workflow because that's not what we do, right? But the point is, this is how. See, it has input arguments, it has output arguments. These are not just diagrams. There is a lot of functionality behind the scenes. If they turn it on and enable it and make it active and make it part of the deployment, these are very powerful functionalities. It is okay. These are used by developers to create automatedness or automatic functionalities in the Siebel. You guys will give the requirements. If it can be implemented using business component, business objects, basic scripting, and some kind of configuration option, then they will go for that. If they cannot, they will go for workflows. Okay. If it's a little bit of complex functionality, they will do it, implement it using workflow. It is in my workflow video as well, but I will say it here because workflow is a very important thing for you to understand. See, you cannot confuse business workflow with workflow. Business workflow is customer calls. He says, rep asks him, hi, how are you? That's business workflow. Second thing is, please give me your asset ID. He gives his asset ID. Rep enters his asset ID into the system and pulls his record, account and contact. We know that one of the important steps of workflow has been achieved as far as business workflow is concerned. So far, no workflow is required in Siebel, because Siebel workflow is a technical concept, technical workflow. It has nothing to do with business workflow. Just remember, Siebel has made a very good attempt at confusing everybody with their business styled language for their technical constructs. It confuses everybody, but there is no correlation. Business workflow में तो दूसरा step हो गया ना, तीसरा step भी हो गया. L1 enters description, level 1 rep checks the billing issues and assigns it to level 2. System automatically assigns it to level 2, right? He enters this area and service system. So far, no workflow is needed, because all this functionality can be done in Siebel using some other thing. It is actually started by Mr. Rap. He enters the area and sub area. When he automatically assigns, that's a different thing. There is an assignment manager available for that. That's a different thing altogether. Workflow is not needed for that. Then service request sits there, L3 resolves it and then assigns it to field service engineers. Still no workflow needed. Siebel workflow is not needed. He requests for a part. He requests for a part. Now he needs a part. Level 3 guy needs a part. The flow is needed. The functionality that is needed is you BAs will design this functionality and tell Mr. Rap, hey, give him this functionality that when he requests, when the level 3 rep or field service rep, anybody requests for a part, it should go first check the parent agreement with the guy. What is the price we are promised him? हर एक का price different होगा ना. इस country में तो हर एक का price different रहता है. What is the price we have promised? What is the kind of agreement in place with him? First of all, is it free for him? Second thing is, if it is not free, what is the price list to be used? Who knows, we sold it in $50 and today we have a discounted offer for 20. We should not use today's discount. Who knows, in the main agreement which was signed 1 year back with this company where we have sold this asset, who knows, at that point we had negotiated for every part that if in the future you would require these parts, we will charge you $50 for this part, $50 for that part, $20 for this part and $2,000 for that part. Then we should go by that contract. So then it should go and check the price. Then it should go and check the availability. Then it should tell and come back and tell you, this is the price, this is the part, this is the price, and this is the date I can promise to deliver. Then Mr. Rep should see this. Mr. Rep should ask the customer, hey, are you okay with this price? Should I order it? That's the functionality that users wanted. But before we go to next step, that particular checking of part here, checking of price list, checking of this, checking of agreement, checking of whether it's free, checking all this, it's very automated, done by the system. A workflow is needed. Siebel technical workflow is needed. I wanted to give an example of Siebel technical workflow. Create full scenario where business workflow is there going on, but only at some steps. We need Siebel technical workflow. Okay. Scenarios are n number of scenarios. You can keep going, but this is a good scenario. Okay. Siebel technical workflow has been understood in all its glory. When it comes to a workflow requirement, I tell you something. It's in my workflow video, but I will still discuss it here for everybody. When you're sitting in the meeting, you just gather the requirement. You will get a lot of chance to understand the entire business requirement, set of business requirement, the scope of all the requirements in all its glory. Bring it to the table. I'll tell you which one requires workflow. Very soon, after 3-4 weeks, you'll start to have friendship with technical guys, and they will start telling you, guiding you. That's the reason people don't need us anymore that much after 3-4 weeks. But still, you should understand what is a workflow. If you don't, even if technical guy tells you we need a workflow, you say, business workflow is there, I have written it, I've made the diagram. Then you're out of project right there. You cannot confuse business workflow with technical workflow. Tech lead has done his job in telling you, I think we need a workflow for this. It's a complex workflow. You said, it's a very complex workflow. I've already designed it. I put it in the diagram. It's a visual diagram. I put it on the documentation repository. You can go and see it there. That is your last day here. Because you have confused business workflow with technical workflow. He's talking about technical workflow. You started giving the status of the business workflow that you're preparing. That is a big problem. Okay? ठीक है ना? कोई ऐसी गलती नहीं करोगे आप, ये सुन लिए, सुनाने का भी फंडा ये कि आपको थोड़ा समझ में आ जाए कि दिस इज द कंस्ट्रेंट। सी बिजनेस वर्कफ्लो उसने बोला, उसने बोल दिया, आपको बताने वाले बथेरे मिलेंगे कि टेक्निकल वर्कफ्लो में टाइम लगेगा, इट विल बी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग एंड इट विल टेक सम टाइम एंड दिस फंक्शनलिटी विल बी इंप्लीमेंटेड यूजिंग टेक्निकल वर्कफ्लो। लेकिन अगर आप सुन के भी समझ नहीं पा रहे और कुछ और चीज से कंफ्यूज कर रहे हो, दैट्स अ प्रॉब्लम। ठीक है, असाइनमेंट मैनेजर इज, ये शुरू वाले जो है ना 5-6, दिस आर द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट। अच्छा, सिविल बीबी इज लाइक स्क्रिप्ट, आई डोंट नो, सिविल 6 में तो सिविल बीबी होती थी, जहां तक मैंने सुना सिविल बीबी हैज बीन डिसकंटिन्यूड, I don't care, I don't know. It's just one of the other proprietary languages that the developers can use. I know that for sure in Civil 6 and 7 days they could. I don't know about 7.8, I don't know 7.9, I don't know 8.0, I don't know 8.1. I don't know what is the current status. But I know that escript is the one which is always used nowadays in all my projects, recent projects, okay, in the last 5-6 years. So that tells you we don't need to even Civil VB other than that, but still, regarding like escript, we did not, it is just a language. If they say we are using Civil VB, then that's what it is. How is it different? How does it matter to you? No, it doesn't matter to you. They're using Civil VB or script, it doesn't matter to you. Assignment manager. Remember we talked about uh, a very interesting functionality that service request ke liye the rep will enter the area and sub area depending upon the availability of the level 2 reps. Level 1 rep, when he receives a call, he will enter the service request and enter the area and sub area. Level 2 guy, it will get assigned to level 2 guy automatically. Remember that part? It will be put in a queue. Yep. All that is assignment manager functionality. This automation is achieved by using assignment manager. This special automation. Assignments, whenever you hear assignments, either it's manual or it's automatic. Manual is manual, user himself assigns it. For example, there is an account that B wants to assign to A. He simply enters him in the sales team of that account. So this is manual assignment. Assignment manager is not needed. But anywhere where an automatic assignment is involved, assignment manager is needed. To set up assignment manager, first let's understand the requirement in its glory. There is a list of objects, account, contact, service requests. They can be assigned in Civil automatically on the to reps, to some other thing, to territory, to a queue, depending upon certain criteria like whether the queue is vacant, whether the rep is available, whether the rep has a certain skill, whether the rep is in that territory, things like that. Making sense? And whether the rep handles that area and sub area. Making sense? Okay. So
That's assignment manager.
that's assignment manager. There are three things in assignment manager. First is object. Like service request is the object in this case. Level 1 rep or level 2. Assignee. किसको असाइन होना है? लेवल 2 रैप्स को. और किसके बेसिस पे असाइन होना है? टेरिटरी के हिसाब से, एरिया सब एरिया के हिसाब से, राइट, स्किल के हिसाब से, राइट, ये हिसाब है, क्राइटेरिया है. किसको असाइन होना है? रैप्स, लेवल 2 रैप्स को, राइट. द एंटिटी इज एम्प्लॉय. किस चीज में असाइन होना है? अकाउंट. सिंपल. आई डिडंट रियलाइज, आई डिडंट टेल यू समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग अबाउट असाइनमेंट मैनेजर. इट्स बेसिकली टेक्नोलॉजी. It's a technical ability available, technology available within Civil, which basically is used for automating assignments. See, assignment, you as you know it, is something of a very simple task, but basically this is a very big thing. Assignment के rules बहुत सारे complex होते हैं. That's why Civil has a special construct for it. If assignment was not available, then what would have been used? Workflows. System. So automatically doing something, right? Taking the parameters of the service request, checking this, checking your availability, checking your availability, checking your availability, right? Then doing everything, finding out the area, sub area. Workflow would have done it. Now assignment manager uses it. But interesting point, even now, assignment manager, the way technology works is it uses some area, some technical fungi, total technical. It uses some technicalities of workflow plus assignment manager technicality, technical abilities are built on top of it. But that's technical funda. You don't have to worry about technical funda, but you should know what is assignment manager. That's very important. Remember three things: assignable objects, only these objects can be assigned in Siebel. Nothing else can be assigned. Accounts, contact, service requests, When the time comes, I will tell you, go and check there whether your assignment, this thing can be assigned or not. Let's say cluster wants to be assigned. Bookings needs to be assigned in Siebel Hospitality. At that point, we'll do the research. It will be written in Siebel Hospitality Guide that this can be assigned using the assignment manager, by the way. To who? It can be assigned to employees. If rep is something else, then it cannot be assigned. Rep is an employee, right? So it's employees entity, right? It can be assigned to some other entities also. Let's not get confused because we are not getting into assignment manager, right? But other things it can be assigned to is accounts, contacts, employees, organizations, territories, things like that. If your requirement is that it cannot be assigned to this thing also, like to the cluster, I will say go and check that guide. It will be written there. There is an assignment manager guide. There is a Siebel Hospitality guide. Third, on what basis? Skills, availability, this, that. Okay? Remember, skills, Siebel ko miracle nahi hoga. Skills have to be set up by data setup people, not you. Data setup people. Availability will be entered by the rep himself. Or the, right? Making sense? So a lot of data setup is ready for assignment, right? All that will be part of requirement gathering for assignment manager only. If you are working on assignment manager related functionalities, trust me, you will be spending good 6 months just working on assignment manager related stuff. It's a very complex kind of functionality sometimes. Okay. So now you know assignment manager in all its glory. Agreed? Convinced nahi ho? State model, very important thing. State model is a very interesting technology available in Siebel. Technical ability available in Siebel. This kind of technical ability is used in functionality like this, the one I'm going to explain. What happens is sometimes we want, अरे पिज़्ज़ा हट में देखा ना डोमिनोज पिज़्ज़ा में पहले स्टार्ट होना चाहिए पिज़्ज़ा, फिर ऑर्डर लेना है, फिर it will be the dough will be prepared. नहीं, प्रोसेस फ्लो के अंदर पार्ट है, उसकी 5 स्टेजेस हैं पिज़्ज़ा की. They are basically status values in Siebel. For example, service request first open होता है, फिर इन प्रोग्रेस रहता है, फिर ये रहता है. हाँ, प्रोसेस फ्लो का पार्ट है. प्रोसेस फ्लो के अंदर हम लोग उसको ब्रेक कर रहे हैं, हम रियलाइज कर रहे हैं different steps will be represented by different status values, right? एक opportunity पहले open होती है, rep clicks new creates opportunity and the status will be open. Then he does work, then he mentions that it is in progress. Then second thing is bid submitted, third is bid submitted, fourth is bid rejected. He will enter these things himself, right? In the status will be entered by him, right? Let's say they want a functionality that from open they cannot go to bid submitted or bid rejected immediately. The rep cannot enter this thing. He is not allowed. Let's say they want this functionality. Is it possible to have such a requirement? Many times we see this requirement. For example, in pizza, when pizza is prepared, now there is a requirement from users. When the pizza is being prepared, reps will enter the pizza, right? Reps will enter. Rep will take the order. Enter an order in Siebel. Click submit. From there on, they will keep updating the order. Let's say they are preparing the dough. They will in Siebel, they will change the order status for that particular order that I have now prepared the dough. Then third is they will write that I have now put it in the oven. Fourth is now I have taken it out of oven. Fifth is now on the way. Sixth is delivered. These are the 6 stages. They want that when the rep is preparing, doing all these things, he should change the order status in Siebel. Agreed. The goal is to a job will go from Siebel. Data will take it will take the data from Siebel and put it on the website for the customer to see. That is the whole idea. Domino's does it. Pizza Hut does it. If you have ever submitted an online pizza order, now you submit the order gets into Siebel. The rep accesses Siebel and sees the order. He starts the order, keeps changing the status himself, and at that point, for every change, immediately the status comes back and updates on the website, on the portal, so that customer can see it. So far, so good. Now users want a very interesting functionality in Siebel that Mr. Rep by mistake should never from open directly enter on the way.
he should never do that. They just want to avoid mistakes. From open, it should always be pizza being prepared. Sorry, dough being prepared. From dough being prepared, it should always be just one should be allowed. Put in the oven. Okay. Then from when he takes it out of oven, he should not be able to enter order submitted or on the way. He should be able to enter that only one status, that pizza taken out of oven. Next one, on the way. Last should be delivered. It should never be, one should not be allowed. This functionality is a very common request from users. Always remember this. You might think it's weird. It is not weird. It is a very, very common request in Siebel. If nothing was present, escript would have been used, as we talked before. Remember, escript is the answer to many things. That's a programming platform. You can change anything, but that's not good. In Siebel, a very special technology is available, state model. It's a technical ability available. Okay, using state model, the developers can implement these kind of functionality. They can control the state. इसको स्टेट बोलते हैं, राइट? ओपन स्टेट में है, एक्टिव स्टेट में है, इन द ओवन स्टेट में है, डिलीवर्ड स्टेट में है, उनको स्टेट ट्रांजिशंस बोलते हैं. हाँ, और स्टेट ऑफ द ऑर्डर, और उसको ट्रांजिशंस बोलते हैं. दे कैन क्रिएट द स्टेट and the possible transitions from one state to another. Yeah. So typically the way when you are preparing the requirement, you prepare it in a very simple diagram. That these are the state transition allowed. For every state you mention the one or two transitions that are allowed. For every state you mentioned that these are the only transitions allowed. In our example, it's a simple matrix. First open, from open, or sorry, order submitted to, it is the only transition allowed is preparing the dough. From preparing the dough, only transition allowed is
the next one.
Next one, OBT, put in the oven. From put in the oven, taken out of the oven. If you write this thing in a document, Mr. Developer will easily prepare the state model for it using the technical thing called a state model. Don't worry about it. Just worry about you being able to gather the requirement, put it in the document, give it to him, and understand that from a gap analysis perspective, it is a simple requirement, not a complex requirement. Okay? We have discussed the most important Siebel keywords. Assignment manager, state model. Next, go to second very important set of keywords that is part of every Siebel implementation. VBC, EBC, EIM, EAI. EAI. Remember we talked about real-time integration? EAI is a technology available within Siebel for Siebel to talk to other systems in a real-time manner. Real-time is the keyword. EAI. The full form doesn't matter. Still, it is Enterprise Application Integration. EAI is used for real-time integration only, not for batch. EIM, Enterprise Integration Manager. मेरे एक बंदे ने बोला कि नेम से इंटीग्रेशन मैनेजर, ओके ये बैच जॉब के लिए लग रहा है. EI, there is no reason. दोनों का नाम बिल्कुल सेम है. They both have similar names. That is, there is no correlation. You just have to memorize it. It's a fact. EIM, Enterprise and Integration Manager. It is used for batch jobs.
For
Batch jobs.
batch.
Batch data transfers. We'll talk about batch and real-time integration later. These guys know it. We discussed it yesterday. So that's fine. VBC and EBC, the virtual business components and enterprise business components. These are two more technologies available for real-time integration. How they are used, what is the difference between EAI and VBC? There is a difference. There is a huge difference. The day comes you have to work on real-time integrations. We'll talk about it in detail. For now, you have heard it. You know what is this virtual business component. See, it's not business component, it's virtual. Enterprise business component is not business component. Those are terms, right? So they cannot be stated differently. Enterprise business component is a different term. The use is certain other kind of real-time integration. That's fine. TBUI, task-based user interface. I've explained somewhere else what is TBUI. I will just talk about it in detail. Show me.
Come in. She did the purple color herself.
Really?
I sit over right here and
Can I see it? Can you please show me here? You can take this with you.
Okay.
Simba, what did you do? Why did you do the purple color?
Cause I know how to do it all by myself.
Do you like purple color?
Yes, and pink color is my favorite. And purple color is my favorite too.
Really? Do you like white color?
White color? Yes.
Okay. What about black color? And what about red color?
Yes.
What about, do you like Princess Tiana?
This dress?
Princess Tiana.
Prince Tiana dress?
Yeah, no, do you like Princess Tiana? Do you want to be like her?
Oh yeah, the dress.
I also wear Tiana's dress.
You're wearing Tiana dress. That's Tiana dress?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Do you like Princess Tiana? Is she a good girl?
Yes.
Is she a good princess? Is she a nice princess? Bimbo? Oh, Simbu.
I can show you Tiana. This is Tiana.
This is Tiana?
Yes.
Let me ask you one thing.
She doesn't come back. She just stays right there.
Okay. Simba, tell me something. Are you a princess too?
I'm not just a princess, but I'm just Tiana.
You're just Tiana.
Then who is Simba?
Mommy, can I take this?
Sure. These are yours. You can say that.
Okay.
Okay. TBUI. TBUI.
EIM or EI?
हाँ बस EIM is used for bad job. इसमें कुछ दिखा नहीं सकता मैं actually.
Okay.
वो लिखते हैं कोड्स, वो लोग कोड लिखते हैं. EAM is what they use for bad jobs. EI का कोड है, जब आप कहते हो ना रियल टाइम इंटीग्रेशन करनी है तो EI होगा, बस आपको पता होना चाहिए उसका कोड कैसे लिखते हैं, कहाँ लिखते हैं, मुझे कुछ भी नहीं पता. No do I care, right? So वर्कफ्लो के अंदर इंपॉर्टेंट होता है थोड़ा सा, मैंने तभी उसको दिखा दिया. TBUI पता क्या होता है? दिस इज द लेटेस्ट थिंग, लाइक 7.88 के बाद आई है, ये आपको देखना पड़ेगा एग्जैक्टली कब आई है. टास्क बेस्ड यूजर इंटरफेस. रिमेंबर आई गेव यू एन एग्जांपल ऑफ रेड बॉक्स कि रेड बॉक्स के अंदर होता है, इफ यू गो टू रेड बॉक्स एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ होती है. एक मिनट होल्ड करना.